Welcome back, all you college baseball fans. We're here breaking down the ACC little preview show for you guys here. I'm joined by some terrific panelists again tonight. I got Jake McKeever, Sean Woodward, Noah Darlin. How we doing, Jake?
Pretty good. Excited. Got the
Sean.
Ville jersey
Oh,
on. Ready for the
Louisville. We're
ACC.
just dropping it in early. Sean, how we doing today?
Good, good. Got the University Traditions hat on, of course.
University Traditions, of course. We got the. We'll talk about that in 1 second here. Noah, how we doing?
I'm fired up to talk about the best conference in college baseball.
Best conference, I agree. I think that we're getting into it here. But let's first mention our partners here in University Traditions. Outstanding hats. Sean's got one on right now, Oklahoma. Go down, take a look at them. Go follow them on Twitter. Go take a look at their hats. They dropped a whole line of Arkansas hats today that are straight up fire. Like, you need to go buy one. The thing is, if you use CBC 15, you get 15% off your whole order. It doesn't matter if you order one hat or 15 hats. Go buy 15 hats. Get them all out. Get Christmas sale done. People are going to be excited about these hats. Go take a look. Support your local teams. But yeah, universitytraditions.biz or follow them on Twitter at University Traditions. Great stuff. Go give them a follow. Let's dive into ACC baseball, guys. Like, this is where it's at. This is the conference. I was screaming last year that it was best conference. They had a better non-conference record than this SEC. I know Noah's on with me this year. Guys, ACC is back. This is ACC baseball at its finest. We're going to start here with Boston College. Jake, I'm going to let you go first since you got to see them live last year. Let us know a little bit about this Boston College team.
Probably more the same story as last year. They'll likely finish near the bottom of the ACC simply because the ACC is just so deep. Travis Honeyman, though, is, I think, the best player at BC. And of kind of all of these bad teams, the Missouris, the BCs, the Pitts, I think he's the best player at any of these quote-unquote bad schools. He pretty much was their best bat throughout the lineup, and he drove in a bunch of runs last year. And I know we're probably not going to see a ton of Boston College, but Travis Honeyman's going to be a guy to watch out for BC this year.
Yeah, I agree. I think I have him highlighted number one. He's the key. He's whether they can be 14 or if they can move up into the bottom, 5 somewhere, a little higher, maybe up to 9. I don't see him getting a much higher ceiling than that. Noah, where do you got this Boston College team?
Just more of the same, talking about Travis Honeyman and how far that he can go. I think he's going to be somebody that's going to kind of sneak up on draft boards. And we're going to be talking about who is this guy out of Boston College? Why weren't they a very good team? And he's going to be somebody that's going to be exciting to watch. But outside of that, it's going to be more of the same that we've come to expect for Boston College. Whole lot of unknowns with this team. I will say, though, if you're going to watch anything with Boston College, some fantastic uniforms. Looking at pictures of these teams,
Balance.
very, very underrated set. Obviously, not great branding involved, but the colors really pop, which is rare for Boston College athletics.
Listen, I love this Boston College team. I think that they have a lot on the offensive side. Travis Honeyman, Joe Verturno. The problem is I don't see them getting outs. They don't have pitching. They don't have anybody returning that's even a stud on the mound. They don't have anybody to rely on. This is going to be a whole new crew. And we're talking about ACC play. That's not good. There's too much good offense here in the ACC this year. Boston College, we have them at 14. Moving to 13 here. Sean, we got Duke. Duke is a weird pick here because they were so highly ranked last year, and then they really didn't perform. They sputtered out. They lost a lot of guys. How are we looking at Duke this year?
Yeah, I mean, Duke's a basketball school. We all know that. But at the same time, I kind of like Duke. They got some great players coming back. They got some older guys. But, at the same time, they lose guys to the transfer portal and stuff like that. They went and won the ACC tournament in 2021. So it's there. It's just, do we see it or not?
Yeah, I wonder if Alex Mooney and Luke Storm can do enough. Like, that's some offense there, but they're going to have to add a lot of young guys, and they're bringing in a lot of transfers from smaller schools. The biggest addition for this whole team, though, is the freshman Cassius Thomas, a right-handed pitcher. I think he's going to get a ton of opportunity. They don't have a lot of arms right there, so that gives them some arm depth. Expect to see Cassius get in there and really start basically from the first day. I don't see him having a whole lot of competition, so it's a big recruit there for them. Duke moving forward, they're going to have to figure out who's going to get outs because they still got to collect outs in the ACC. Same problem with Boston College. We got them at 13, 12. We got Pitt. Jake, let us know about this Pitt team.
I'm really excited for this Pitt team. They're going to be one of the teams that I go see in person. I'll be there for the Pitt Virginia Tech series. But this Pitt team is going to be kind of tough to gauge. They kind of had a roller coaster season last year. There were times where it seemed like they were going to sneak into the tournament. And then at the end, they just didn't get over that hump. Ron Washington Jr. is gone, so they're going to have to replace that bat. CJ Funk in the middle of the order, I think he's going to provide a lot of pop. And I'm going to go out on a limb here and trust Wikipedia, but they were claiming that Pitt hasn't made the tournament since 1995. So looking to get over that hump this year for Pitt. I think last year was the closest they'd come, but it's going to be a rebuilding year for Pitt, I think.
Yeah, that's crazy because in the ACC right now, the top 12 teams make it. They do a 4-team play, 3-team brackets, little round robin action. So to not make it since that long is a long time. Pittsburgh lost 60 of their 79 home runs from a year ago. How do they make up for that? That's a huge portion of their runs. You're talking about coming from the home run, the long ball. Logan Evans is going to have to be great. He had 14 starts last year for him. When we look at this team, Noah, what can this Pittsburgh team do? Do they have enough coming in?
Well, the question with Pitt for the last 2 years has been, why did they fall apart? Because it's been a good Pitt team for the first half of the season. They get through ACC play, and that really gauntlet of this very deep league starts to get to them. Do they have the leadership to take control of that league? I think maybe we look at a guy like Jack Anderson, not the Jack from Oregon State for 25 years that was over there, but this one's a little bit of a different guy. But Pitt's going to have to rely on guys like him who've been there for a while. He's a senior. Head coach Mike Bell is a friend of the program at Pitt. I believe in Pitt. The question is, can they extend that hot February, hot March that they've had signs of, and can they bring that into May? So far, the answer has been no.
Yeah, I'm hoping they do. It's great to see them get into this ranking here. We have them at 12. That would be in the tournament. I hope that they can beat the Boston Colleges, the Dukes, and they get up there and really compete with these guys. But the rest of that ACC field is so good. I want to see CJ Funk take a step forward here. Maybe he's their power guy. Maybe he's their guy that gets them going, being a leader, being on that team before. See if he can get them rolling. But let's go to Notre Dame here. Noah, what do we got on this Notre Dame team? I know it's a lot of new guys. It's a lot of coaching staff switch over. What do we got?
Well, when you mention new guys, you got to start with a new head coach. The Link Jarrett era is over. I have a feeling they'll still get comfortable seeing him in opposing dugouts, though. But Sean Stifler is the guy in charge now. You might know him from Virginia Commonwealth. VCU was a huge factor in the NCAA tournament the last few seasons. They made it out of a regional one year. He's a good coach, very similar to the way Notre Dame plays. It's going to be kind of a seamless transition, at least from a style of play. And Carter Puts back. Huge bat for that lineup. Just one of those guys, he puts the ball in play, not going to blow you away with his power. He's going to get on base, just like Billy Beane would want in the movie Moneyball. And then on the mound, you got Jack Finley coming back. But after that, it's a little bit of a question mark. You look at this Notre Dame lineup, and you see a lot of balance, top to bottom. It's not going to be a terribly easy out in this lineup, but when they throw a guy on the mound, you're not going to be as confident as you were when you had that team last year that was so good out of the bullpen in places like Knoxville.
Yeah, when we talk about these graduate seniors, Carter Puts, Jack Ziska, Brooks Cotes, like these are guys, or Cotes, these guys can play, but is it enough, Sean? I know that they got to add a lot of guys here. They got a lot of people coming in.
Yeah, I mean, they have a pretty old team if you look at just the number of graduates they have. But they did lose a lot in the offseason. And like Noah said, one of those guys being their head coach. And that's always hard. So I think you have the experience to go back. And I think you have the coaching to go back as well with Sean Stifler. It's just if everything comes together and meshes, that's going to be the big question mark in my opinion.
Yeah, and a year ago they were the oldest team. They had 8 seniors and 1 junior in that lineup at the World Series. They did all the things they were supposed to do. They had Link Jarrett there. It's a new era, so it's good to see Carter Puts there again, puts at least a familiar face up there. Jack Finley was terrific late in the season, so it's exciting to see what this Notre Dame team can do. Adding in a bunch of guys, going to see if they can mesh it all together. So looking in at our number 10, we got Georgia Tech. Sean, I'm going to let you take it away here with this Georgia Tech team. What do you see?
Yeah, so I'm going to be honest. Georgia Tech is the one ACC school that I tend to forget about the most. They just kind of end up falling there. But they got a really good recruiting class. Early in the season, I'm all hyped up on Georgia Tech baseball. I think, they're really going to make some noise, and then they always seem to fall short. And I get a little disappointed by Georgia Tech. So I think it's going to be some of the same this year, honestly.
Yeah, this Georgia Tech team doesn't bring back a ton of talent. They do keep Stephen Reed and Drew Compton, but they lose 80 of their 115 home runs from a year ago where this team really crushed the ball out of the ballpark there. A lot of those guys, they lost 6 guys to the pros. So when we look at this team, Jake, what does Georgia Tech do good enough this year to get where we have them here at number 9 or at number 10?
They were a team that I really wanted more out of in 2021. At times, they looked like they were going to compete and go deep, and then at other times, they get their shins kicked in against Georgia. But I think the addition of Matt Wieters as a special assistant, I think is going to pay dividends. He's an MLB talent, and Georgia Tech's quickly turning into catcher U. I think Trace Gonzalez and Tim Borden are going to tell the story of this team. I think they're two of the best hitters in this lineup, and if they're able to place, excuse me about that. They're able to replace Parada. That was kind of a mouthful. They're going to be a really good team again, and don't be surprised if they're kind of in the ACC mix. Looking to make it to the second weekend for the first time since 2007 when they went all the way to Omaha. Haven't been able to escape that recently, and they look to kind of buck that trend here.
When I look at this Georgia Tech team and I see the players that they brought in, these freshmen, I really look at the right-handed pitcher Riley Stanford and Dimitri Diamante. Those are two very good right-handed pitchers. One of them, if not both of them, could be looking for weekend rotation time. So I expect for this team to go as far as those freshmen are going to be able to take them. So look for those guys in the weekend rotation. As we go in here, NC State, number 9. Jake, I'm going to let you start this one up for us. Where is NC State after the Tommy White era?
I was going to say I'm very, very low on NC State. I think that's almost kind of a shock to your program when your best player just leaves out of nowhere. But the flip side of that is Throwaway Tanks really wasn't a very good fielder. And at times, NC State kind of forgot to field the ball. So I think that's going to pay dividends. They did get Kai Harrison, who's kind of a glove-first shortstop out of Texas A&M. And Lou James Grover III, I think, is one of the fastest players in baseball. They also got a really good recruit that I'll talk about later in my freshman of the year. But I'm not very high on NC State. I think that they're going to have a Boston College type method where they're going to have to bang it around the yard to beat people.
Yeah, and I just don't see the offense from that team coming through. They have, Dominic Paloli and Noah Souls coming back, but that's not enough added into with Lou James there. I think bringing in the transfer Rio Britton from Oregon, who was fairly successful late in the season there, that's good arm to be bringing in. They got Matt Willardson and Logan Whitaker. They have arms. I just don't know if they're going to be able to score runs in this league, and you really have to be able to score in this league. But maybe the arms are going to be enough to keep them in ball games. I just don't see the run production coming from those two guys. We'll see moving forward here with this team. Let's talk about a team that we're all pretty high on, which is surprising that we ranked them so low. Let's talk about Clemson here. Sean, give me the head start here on this Clemson ball club.
Yeah, so last season they started out 14-0, and then kind of just lost consistency with their wins and losses. Couldn't really string together too many wins. They had some wins against some good ball clubs, but they ended up going 0-2 in the ACC tournament, and they didn't get a bid to the NCAA tournament. So for me, it's, again, just a question of consistency. Can they keep those wins rolling, and can they get over that hump in the ACC?
It is. And, this is a good ball club, and we keep saying that about this Clemson team, then they don't make it, and they just kind of stumble late in the season, and they don't look great down the stretch. How does Clemson buck this trend, Noah? How do they get past this hump?
Well, they do it with bringing somebody in who's got the experience of taking a team that has kind of had some rough and tumble in a tough conference in terms of getting into the NCAA tournament, and then they make the best out of it in the postseason and make their way to Omaha almost miraculously, and then make it to a national championship. The key is Eric Bakich. Eric Bakich, Jake, is a wagon. Love Eric Bakich. What he did at Michigan was phenomenal. He's from the Tim Corbin coaching tree. He's got the Clemson ties, been there before, loves the program. Eric Bakich will not be leaving Clemson. This is his program. You're going to have to fire him if you want to get rid of him, Tiger fans, which we know you will do if he doesn't succeed. Clemson is still a pressure cooker despite the lack of really dominant success since about 2010. But they've got the fantastic offense this year. I'm really looking forward to watching them pound the ball all over the yard. And if they're going to be successful, it's going to start with Caden Grice. So excited to watch this two-way player play. His freshman season, he was a freshman All-American. Kind of had that sophomore slump last year. Big year for Caden Grice. If Caden Grice is one of the better players in the ACC this year, I'm not going to be surprised if we're talking about Clemson playing in Omaha.
No, I wanted to have you clarify something really quick. Did you say that the Big Ten is a rough and tumble league?
I specifically said in terms of getting into the NCAA tournament. If you fall behind in those standings, you are going to be in a bad place for making that NCAA tournament because it's a one-bid league because it's a mid-major in basketball, baseball, and football.
I agree. I think that this is a great position for him to be at Clemson. I think he's excited to take over this program. Another one I'd like to throw in there, Blake Wright. I think that that's a good addition there on the offensive side. They're also bringing in a highly touted left-handed pitcher, freshman Tristan Smith. I think he's going to see innings right away. I would not be surprised to see him on the weekend. This is what they have to do. They have to keep competing. They have to keep banging the ball around the yard and find guys who are going to fill the holes that they have right now. Speaking about a team that used to bang the ball around the yard, our friends number 7, Wake Forest, or as we like to call them, Rake Forest. Let's get after it. Noah, here, let me know.
The question with Wake Forest has always been that pitching, and there's a lot of people around the program who think that this is the year for Wake Forest to finally develop that pitching, because if they can, they have this little thing that we call the wow factor. We know about Brock Wilken on offense. He's going to carry the load. Rhett Lauder, 2022 ACC Pitcher of the Year, is back, and now he's got a friend named Teddy McGraw. Teddy was a little bit rough and tumble last year, just like the Big Ten, but he's going to kind of develop into that Saturday starter that you really look for on one of those Omaha caliber teams. Who knows if Wake Forest is going to be able to kind of have that put it all together kind of year. When you look at these teams in the middle of the ACC, they all kind of have the same factor where it's like they look great in March and then they look a little iffy in February or in April, and then they fall apart in May. If Wake Forest can tie that all together, we've heard some coaches say that Wake is one of the most talented teams in this league. If they can just put together these little pieces like many think they can with the development of Teddy McGraw, Wake is another one of those teams that who knows how well they could do in the NCAA tournament if they're getting hot at the right time.
I tell you what, this pitching duo feels a lot like the duo that we had last year at Florida State. It feels like a good 1-2 punch going into the weekend. Every single weekend, you get to throw your best against their best, and your best is a little bit better. On the offensive side, I also like to see Nick Kurtz. I hope he takes a step forward. 15 home runs, 338 last year. This could be a big step for them if he can get out there and keep raking the ball like that. Him and Wilken, that could be a dynamic 3-4 duo there. I look really forward to seeing this Wake Forest team. I hope that they are absolutely as electric as they were last year and take another step forward. Like we said, hopefully they can get into that weekend of the ACC tournament and really make a push to be a top 25, possibly top 16 team and hopefully host. So we'll see where this team progresses with that pitching, but I like where they're heading right now. Another team that's going to have to progress that we're talking about has some wagon players on it. UNC. You know what, Jake? I'm going to let you start with this because I know that Noah's got a lot to say about UNC. So, Jake, I'm going to let you start here with this UNC program.
I was going to say, if you follow Noah on Twitter, you know that he is a stan for Vance Honeycutt. He probably has a big cardboard cutout of him behind him. But I wouldn't sleep on Matt Carforth or Zarate in this lineup. I think this is a UNC team that kind of reminds me of the ones that went to Omaha. Max Carlson's a frontline ace. I think UNC, this whole group of this 4 or 5, this kind of group is all very, very similar. And I could see any of these teams from UNC up winning the ACC. And I think they're going to be a team that goes to Omaha. I really do.
Noah, let us have it. Go jump on your soapbox here, buddy.
Well, first off, this is one of the best lineups in not just the ACC, but all of America this year. And you have a bona fide stud in Vance Honeycutt. We're talking about a National Player of the Year candidate. He is allegedly cutting down on those strikeouts, and that was the only thing that held him back last season. If you remember tuning into North Carolina baseball in May or June, odds are you watched a Vance Honeycutt home run. It was just that incredible of a tear that he was on. If he can expand that to a couple months of the season, obviously easier said than done in this sport, North Carolina has the potential to be the number 1 overall seed when you mix in guys like Mac Horvath. Like Jake said, Max Carlson is a Friday night starter. He's back. Dalton Pence is somebody that North Carolina is excited about on the mound. And then you also have Alberto Ozuna, who people kind of forget about in this North Carolina lineup, guy with deadly power at the first base position. I am so excited to watch North Carolina play, and not only one of the best lineups in the country, maybe the best uniforms in the country. This is total eye candy. You can't stay away from North Carolina.
Me as an Oregon State fan, everybody knows that. I love seeing this North Carolina team good. When North Carolina is good, it usually means that Oregon State's going to meet them in the finals, and that works out well for us. But I do love Mac Horvath. I think what he did last year, he told teams in the draft, don't draft me. I'm coming back to North Carolina. We have unfinished business. And they didn't draft him very high. They drafted him 18th round. He said, I'm still not going. I'm telling you guys, don't draft me because this is what I want to do. Comes back to his promise. This North Carolina club is good. We have them at 6, but they could really be number 1. Any of these top 6 teams that we have could be the number one team in the ACC. I see a path for them to be there. But again, what is this lineup going to do outside of those three guys? Can they have enough? I think that they will. I love this North Carolina team. Moving forward here, we got Florida State, number 5. Noah, take it away.
Well, it's the Link Jarrett era in Tallahassee, and that's all I'm going to say about Florida State, because we know that I am so wildly biased against the Florida State Seminoles. I think that this has been one of the more disappointing programs of our lifetime, and I think there's a ton of pressure on Link Jarrett. He's coming back to his alma mater. He knows, he's well aware of what Mike Martin's one fault was, and he's got a lot of pressure on his plate. He just left behind a pretty cushy job at Notre Dame, and everybody in the world knew he was going to be the head coach of Florida State. Everybody knew. He won the Mike Martin Coach of the Year award in front of Mark, Jake, and I's eyes. I'm looking forward to watching that era, but I just do not trust Florida State. The folks we know are gone, the 1-2 punch that everybody was talking about last season, and that was their saving grace. There's a ton of rollover here. I think we have Florida State too high. I hope they prove me wrong. I like seeing Florida State in Omaha, but I'm just not seeing it.
This is what I see. I see the same thing. They lost a lot, but Jamie Ferreira coming back. James Tibbs comes back. Those are two guys that hit over 300 with double-digit home runs. Ferreira was at 9, actually, but they're very close. Wyatt Crowell has to be a dude. He has to be the dude on the mound for them. He has to turn into what they need him to be, whether it's the Friday, Saturday, Sunday starter. He's going to have to be successful. They also brought in a pretty good recruiting class here. They got shortstop Cameron Smith and outfielder Jordan Taylor who are going to come in. Those two guys are competing for time right now. They love Cameron Smith. He's a big body freshman. He can really drive the baseball, plays a good shortstop. Every time, though, there's a freshman shortstop, I get weary because that's a problem. Sometimes they make a lot of errors in this league. It's really tough to make that step from a shortstop in high school and make that step into the college ranks. I expect him to do it, though. I think that he's a good ball player. I think Florida State is right where they should be, really. I think Link Jarrett is going to get these guys going where they need to be. I think by ACC play, they'll have things figured out. They'll have that weekend rotation all set up. I'm looking forward to seeing this Florida State team, but they got some holes to fill, so I'm excited to see what these freshmen do. Speaking
this is
of,
going to be another team, Marvel, and this is going to be another team that the weekend rotation is going to be on scene to see at Florida State for the Florida State Virginia Tech series, so we'll get to see them up close and personal.
We'll have direct live access there for that one there. We got lots of ACC ball that we're going to get to watch this year. Another club here, Louisville, we have them at number 4. You know, Jake, when we look at this Louisville team, what are we seeing? I know that they had one of the highest recruiting classes coming in. How good is this Louisville team going to be?
I think this Louisville team, however you want to call it, the Ville, I'm excited for them. I know that they lost Dalton Rushing and Ben Metzinger, but they're returning Jack Payton, Isaac Humphrey, Logan Beard. They have, like you said, the number 3 recruiting class. The fan base is excited for Louisville. Louisville athletics have been faltering, and it seems like all the faith is kind of going into this baseball program, almost like Oregon State. I'm really, really excited for this Louisville team. I think that their ceiling is national champions, and I think their floor is a super regional team. I think that they have the talent to do it. They had a little bit of heartbreak in College Station, but I think that the only thing that can stop this Louisville team is themselves.
I'm worried about pitching, but when we look at this team as a whole, Sean, what do we see?
First, I like the little jab at Oregon State. That was funny. I like Louisville. I'm really high on Louisville baseball. I was last year too. Something about those striped red uniforms, just they're perfect in my opinion. You know, they did lose 2 key guys, and you know, they replaced him somewhat. Obviously, you can't replace experience, but they had the top-ranked recruiting class in the ACC, and you know, they have experience now going forward. They have experience in supers and in regionals, and I think it's a year where, like Jake said, you know, super regionals or Omaha is very much in the question for him.
Here's my thinking on this. Jack Payton behind the dish is going to have to be a dude. He's going to have to step up and really lead this team, not just on the field, but as an emotional and mental leader for these guys and keep them going. They have a great recruiting class, a lot of young guys. Shortstop Gavin Klein and outfielder Corbin Dickerson. That's a lot of talent coming in. I want to see how it kind of meshes with this team. I could see this team stumble early, but then I can see them finding their groove and really being a very good team. I do agree, Jake. I think that their floor for me is regional. They could, you know, host a regional, but I'm really worried to see how this team progresses with these young guys coming forward. But they do have a lot of talent. very high recruiting class. Yes, Noah.
Mark, I just have a quick comment about Louisville. We talk about their super regional experience. It doesn't take a great mind to remember that they shouldn't have that super regional experience. Michigan and Eric Backage, who is a wagon, Jake, should have defeated Louisville, and I'm never going to forget that. I hope America doesn't forget it. Clearly, you all have.
That was the worst game I've ever been to in my life. It was like 105 degrees. It was so humid. And luckily, A&M pulled out the win. But yeah, I would have much rather played Michigan. I think we would have blew out Michigan with how the weather was.
You won in 2 games. It was a
It
you
was
couldn't have done better.
so unbelievably hot. I can't. You cannot fathom how hot that game was.
Speaking of hot, let's get into Virginia here. Number 3. I'm a big fan of Virginia this year. They've got one of the best players in the country. You know what, Noah? Why don't you let us know a little bit about this Virginia ball club, because I think they're terrific this year.
Another team that kind of fits that ACC mold of so good, and then all of a sudden we're saying what happened. Did they fall to the 2 or the 3 line last year? Either way, they should have been a top 8 seed if we stopped things in April. And all of a sudden, Virginia just kind of fell off that cliff, and it wasn't the first time we had seen them do that. Virginia is one of these teams that is kind of in the mold of consistency and in terms of the long term, but along the way, it just kind of what's happening with this team, and then it's kind of I'm going to say it again, can we get a rough and tumble count? Rough and tumble. And I'm looking forward to seeing if Brian O'Connor can kind of mellow things out with Jake Geloff leading the way. He's going to be one of those guys that we're talking about as National Player of the Year. Had a pretty good case if Ivan Melendez didn't exist last year. We'll see if he can match that production this year.
Yeah, they have a lot of guys returning. They have a lot of offense, but the pitching, and they brought in 8 transfer players and 12 freshmen. Jake, why don't you let us know a little bit more about this Virginia team? How are they going to mesh with the Geloff talent?
I think Virginia's turning into the center of college baseball, kind of how Mississippi was a few years ago. Virginia's just one of those quintessential baseball teams. You know, the helmets fall off when they're taking big daddy hacks. The orange and blue just look, ever so great on the field. I think Jake Geloff is probably the best player in the ACC. I think he's going to be the barometer for how good this team is. Don't be surprised if he's in that Golden Spikes conversation again. I think Alex Tapin is another good bat to watch out for there. They have a really good 1-2 punch with Geloff and Tapin. And then Nate Savigno, I think that's going to be another name to watch out for. He's going to have to take a big step forward if Virginia expects to compete for the ACC.
Yeah. Yep. I expect to see a little bit out of Nick Parker. He was from Coastal Carolina. Chase Huntgate, those VCU relief guy. I expect to see more out of the arms of those. I want to see, what these guys can do and if they can be good enough. Jay Woolfolk was out of the bullpen almost all of last year exclusively, but a 2.87 ERA. Can he be the dude that really gets this team forward? This is a great Virginia team. I hate to see them drop off like they did last year. Again, if we would have had them even the beginning of May, that team would have been a top 8 team. They would have been hosting through both. It's really sad to see them drop off. I expect more out of them this year. I think it's a good ball club. But we know what happens because Virginia Tech really took it to them. Jake, this Virginia Tech team is something different. Let us know what we're looking at here with this Virginia Tech team.
This is another team that I'm really, really excited for. I think they're going to have to replace Schobel in the middle of that lineup. That's going to be a big loss. But they get Hurley back. They get DeMartini back. They get back Christian Hackenberg and pretty much all of their pitching. They're going to be a very, very deep team here. And I know that they won the ACC, but they're still coming in with that chip on their shoulder after that disappointing series in OU. And I think they really want to get back to Omaha. But it's going to be exciting to watch Virginia Tech. We mentioned it on the softball pre-show yesterday, Mark. Their non-conference slate leaves something to be desired. So we're going to have to wait a little bit to see how good this Virginia Tech team is. But they have a really, really easy schedule. They play BC first, and I don't think they play a Power 5 opponent to start out. So that's kind of my only worry there is they're not playing these tough teams early. But, don't be surprised, again, if Virginia Tech's right in the mix like they were last year.
I look at that lineup and look at this team. They could be undefeated or one loss here heading into ACC play. They don't play anybody. This is really a cakewalk for them. The RPI is going to be brutal for them, so they're going to have to play well in the ACC to get that RPI up. But this is such a good lineup. They have so much talent. Like you said, DeMartini, Hurley, Malinowski. Those are good guys, and all through that lineup that are just going to drive the ball out of the ballpark. No, when we look at this team, do they have enough to be warranted as the number 2 team that we have them at?
I think you have to look at last year's performance and say that they absolutely do. When you see a team go 45-14 overall and they return a lot of guys, you have to say it. But the question mark with Virginia Tech, and Sean, I'm going to give you a little bit of a shout out here. When you put expectations on a team, it's almost it's almost automatic in your head that they're just going to repeat the performance from the year before. But Arkansas football has those kind of expectations on them right now, and we see how it goes. But on the other hand, we have Tennessee football, and they are maybe the story of the season in college football. So it's all going to be about how they react to that kind of pressure cooker. That's something that Virginia Tech has certainly not seen before. But you talk about the guys they have back, Hurley, DeMartini. I wanted to be the one to give a shout out to a friend of the program, Malinowski, but that's on you, Mark.
Sorry.
And I do want to shout out Jake here, who called Drew Hackenberg Christian Hackenberg.
Oh man,
Big Penn State football fan. Jake is.
Yeah, I look at Drew Hackenberg. I look at Griffin Green. I look at Kieran Higgins. I see 3 pitchers that can really step up and be what this Virginia Tech team does. That's what makes me feel different about this Virginia Tech team versus the rest of the ACC is that they have dudes returning in the lineup. They have dudes returning on the mound. They really don't seem to have a weak spot that you can go, okay, this is where they're going to struggle. And then they bring in freshman Ryan Kennedy, who's a big right-handed arm. Big arm to be in there. I don't know if he's going to get weekend starts, but this kid's going to be great. So I don't really see a weakness for Vautech. I think that their floor is so high and their ceiling is a national championship. That's what they're shooting for this year. Speaking of a team that's shooting for a national championship, I'm going to start with you, Sean, here. When we look at this Miami ball club, we have them ranked 1. Every time we rank a Miami team 1, they seem to falter. When we look at this team, where are we going with this Miami club?
Yeah. So first, if you look at their schedule, it's not easy. It's rough, like a lot of ACC schedules are this year. But they lost, I believe, 4 pitchers in the draft this past year. So obviously that hurts a lot. You know, anytime you lose that much pitching to the draft, you're losing a lot of leadership and a lot of innings just in general. But they have a great transfer class and a great recruiting class. I don't know how they keep getting these great classes because Miami always disappoints. But it's Miami. It's Miami. And they keep getting guys to come there. And this might be the year. It might not be. I think they're going to be frauds again, but we'll see.
The only thing more disappointing than Miami's recent tournament success is their stadium. It is a joke of a stadium. It is sad. It does not look like a major market stadium, and they really should be with all the talent they've pushed through there. How do they replace guys like Palmquist? How do they bring in guys, transfers like Jack Scallon from Oregon? I don't know. Noah, tell me about this Miami team.
Well, first off, I'm just going to clear the air and say that the Miami hate is absolutely disgusting, and I completely condemn it. I have always been a Miami lifer. You guys know that.
They got to take a crown off from last year.
I believe it was Mark that was calling Miami a fraud all last season, and that was just really, really gross. Miami is not only going to win the ACC this year, they will be in Omaha. The pitching is a little bit scary, very concerning, almost as scary as that stadium, which I believe starred in the what's that movie, guys, with the guy from The Matrix, Hardball. It was the field in Hardball is what they play their home games on, and the 8 fans look insane on their phones playing Angry Birds in the NCAA tournament. But what they're really doing is they're taking videos of Yohandy Morales. Not only, and I know that this is going to spoil the rest of the show, Yohandy Morales is the best player in the ACC. He's going to win ACC Player of the Year, and this might spoil a future show. Yohandy Morales is going to win the National Player of the Year this season. He is that good. I understand that while Mark was calling Miami a fraud last season, he did give some shout-outs to Yohandy Morales, and for some reason we shot him down, even though we all loved Miami equally. But I had the privilege of watching him play quite a bit in Miami's 2 postseason games that they embarrassed themselves in, and Yohandy is a for-real player. I am so excited to watch him go up against Vance Honeycutt for the best player in the ACC this year, but I think it's Yohandy.
For all the friends of the program who watched how much I was building up Morales last year, I was huge on the kid. I think he's a terrific talent. I think that had they not faltered so bad and been so tough in the ACC, they could have been better. They were right there on the doorstep of being the number 1 team. Morales is great. They got CJ Kefus back. They got Zach Levinson. They have dudes all over the place in the field. Can they have the pitching? You know, you look at guys like Alejandro Rosario, Andrew Walters. Is that going to be enough? Do they have enough guys coming in? I don't know, but I do love this Miami ball club. I'm sorry for all the hate last year. the non-existent hate that I was putting out. I think I picked them in every series that they played last year. I'm a big fan of this Miami ball club moving forward. I'm worried about pitching, but again, this feels like an Omaha or bust season for this. And with ACC being the best conference in baseball this year, better than the SEC, take that, haters. I do believe the ACC is the best conference in baseball with the most talent at the top end here. When we look at top end talent, let's get into the player of the year conversation here, guys. I know that we've all had this conversation. We've been talking about this for a long time. Jake, I'm going to let you start here. Tell us who the player of the year is going to be for the ACC.
All right, I got the pride of Delaware. I got Jake Geloff. I think he's going to run away with it. I think that he's going to be the best player, and Virginia's going to be right near the top. So this one was kind of an easy one. Jake Geloff out of Delaware.
I love the Jake Geloff. I think he can carry Virginia to where they need to be because I don't know if they have enough else around him. But this Jake Geloff guy, he is terrific talent. Sean, where are we going here with player of the year?
Noah kind of took my little stage that I was going to stand on. Yohandy Morales. Going to be big leadership for Miami this season. He's projected first-round pick. He's got a good bat, had above a 40% OBP. He had, I think it was like a 9.91 fielding percentage. So, that could definitely use some work, but I guarantee he's been working on it. And he's freshman All-American last season. So ACC pitcher of the year is only fitting to be next.
Yeah, when you look at that, he's got 18 home runs and 59 RBIs from a year ago, and that lineup is not as good as it is this year. He's got a lot more help around him. I think that he expands on that. Noah, who are we looking at for player of the year?
Well, I think I spoiled it a second ago. It's Yohandy Morales for me. With that said, if you were a big baseball fan in 1998 and you watched the ACC this year, you're going to be reminded of the Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa kind of summer of 98 when it comes to Yohandy Morales and Vance Honeycutt. When North Carolina plays Miami, I might fly us all out there to see that wagon that Vance Honeycutt is all by himself against new wagon Yohandy Morales. We got wagon squared. That's double wagons. That's 3 wagons I just said. Count them.
Listen, I do love Yohandy Morales. I was so high on him last year. I am high on Vance Honeycutt this year. I just don't think he can have the exact same production that he had last year. 25 home runs is tough to come by. I'm going to go a little bit off board here, and I think that Jack Hurley has a chance to be the player of the year. He was great at Vautech last year. He's going to have to step up and be the leadership, be the role there, him and DeMartini. I like what I saw out of Jack Hurley last year. Give me Jack Hurley winning it as a dark horse here as the player of the year. Give me Jack Hurley. Now we look at pitcher of the year. There's a lot out there, but not a lot returning. So what are we looking for pitcher of the year, Sean?
He's repeating. Rhett Lauder. I got him again. I saw some major league comparisons. I believe it was Chris Sale. So anytime you're compared to Chris Sale, that's a good thing. He had 105 strikeouts last year to only 26 walks. Dude's a gamer. And I don't know if anyone's ever repeated for pitcher of the year of the ACC or of their conference in general. But I'm picking him to do it this year. And look at that flow. I mean, that hair, you gotta root for that.
The dude's got some lettuce. He's got that hockey playoff hair flowing already, and we're not even into February. Noah, who do you have as the pitcher of the year here in the ACC?
Well, originally I was thinking Drew Christian Hackenberg, but I'm going to change my tune a little bit. I'm thinking it's going to be Max Carlson from North Carolina. When I go out there and I call North Carolina potential #1 overall seed, I think they're going to have that dominant frontline starter. Give me Max Carlson coming back. He ate a ton of innings for him last year. He's got that experience under his belt, but now he's going to have a little bit more room to breathe when they kind of take that load off of him. He's going to flourish. He's going to be great against everybody except for Yohandy Morales.
That's fair. I do think he's going to have to be great for this North Carolina team, and he can carry them. They're going to go as far as he can take them. Jake, where are we at here with your pitcher of the year?
No, I got a little nervous there. I'm going to redeem myself on the Christian Hackenberg. I'm going to go Drew Hackenberg. Billy Wagner was his high school coach, so I think, a ton of his game kind of translates that. I think he's going to take a big, big step forward, and I think he really is going to be the ace of that Virginia Tech team. So lock it in. Give me Hack as the pitcher of the year.
I love all three of those guys. They were all on my list, but I'm going to go a little different. I'm going to go Logan Whitaker from North Carolina State. I think that he's going to have to be a dude to carry this team. And when they put that on those guys' shoulders, sometimes they step up under pressure. I'm going to look for Logan to step up. I think that he can do it. He showed that he can pitch in big games last year. I just want to see him do it more consistently this year. Maybe get to that Friday night starter, if not the Saturday night starter. So that's where I'm going with this pick here. Freshman of the year, Noah, where are we looking at for freshman of the year here in the ACC?
I think it's going to go a little bit unorthodox. We're going to go up to Notre Dame, South Bend, Indiana. Estevan Moreno is somebody that they're very excited about in this lineup. He's going to have a little bit of opportunity to kind of sneak in there. We talk about a very experienced group, but at the same time, a group that's not necessarily experienced playing together. A lot of new guys brought in. Good opportunity to get the young guns in there. New head coach probably doesn't have a whole lot of rapport with some of these older guys, and he may want to bring in his guys and say, let's start the new era off right. Give me Estevan Moreno to kind of take control up there.
I like that. I like Moreno up there. Again, I think Freshman of the Year award in the ACC is more of a how much did you participate? How much were you getting opportunities? So when we look at that, when we look all over across that, Jake, where are we at with this Freshman of the Year? Where you go?
I'm going to go a little bit out of left field from kind of a team that I had being disappointed. I'm going to go Michael Gumpton out of NC State, world-class sprinter, 5.96 60, ran it twice because they didn't think he ran it that good the first time. Strong right-handed bat. I think he has a chance to be kind of an Enrique Bradfield tone setter at the top of the lineup. I think Michael Gumpton's going to be my pick for freshman of the year.
I love that. I love table setters, especially as freshmen when you put them in there. A lot of speed there. Changes that North Carolina State team. We'll see what they're doing there. Sean, where are we at here with freshman of the year?
I got a Clemson guy, and I got Tristan Smith. He was projected second round in this last draft, so the fact that he made it up to Clemson, they're really excited about that. He's got a 93 to 95 mile an hour fastball with a power curveball. He was a Gatorade National Player of the Year finalist. I think if Clemson's going to be competitive this year, at least to the extent they want to be, Tristan Smith's going to have to give him some really good innings as a freshman.
I love that. That was my pick, number one there. I had Tristan Smith, so I'm going to go a little bit different here. I do believe that Cameron Smith here for Florida State is going to get an opportunity to play shortstop. Like I said, it's tough to be a shortstop coming in this league, getting opportunities earlier. I think that I'm going to go there with Cameron Smith getting the chance to start at shortstop possibly for this Florida State lineup. I love where they're going here. It's going to be tough, though. This is not an easy league. So, speaking of not easy league, Sean, I'm going to go right back to you here. Dark horse team for this ACC.
I said they were a basketball school, but they also won the ACC tournament in 2021. I got Duke. Duke is my dark horse team. I don't know why. Duke and Louisville are just I kind of just like Duke and Louisville baseball. So I'm gonna go Duke. They have an experienced pitching staff. Last season they swept Notre Dame, and we all know how good Notre Dame was. And so, yeah, I think they're one to look out for.
That's a dark horse. We have them ranked at 13. We have them not making the tournament. I'm going to be surprised if Duke gets in the top half of this conference, but you heard it here. He's taking Duke. Jake, who are we taking for your dark horse?
I'm going with DeVille all across. I wanted to go with Virginia Tech, but I realized that they probably weren't a dark horse this year. They're just going to be the favorite.
I don't think Louisville is either.
I mean, they're four. Four's kind of far down there for my dark horse. I think they have the talent to kind of push it. If you're going to make me get a little bit obscure, I'm going to go with Wake Forest. Okay. I think it's kind of the true dark horse. They have the hitting. Did I steal yours? No, I'm sorry about
that. Noah, who are you going here with the dark horse?
Well, it's what Jake's been doing for the year and a half that we've been doing this show. He stole my pick. At first he wasn't going to, and then he magically pulled it out of his you-know-what. So we're looking forward to watching Wake Forest sneak into that ACC title conversation, in my opinion. If they can get that pitching going like we can see that they might be able to, that's going to be almost as good as North Carolina. Not quite, but almost.
I'm going to go a little bit further, just one step further, and I'm going to say Clemson because I love what Tristan Smith coming in there is going to do for this team. I think he brings a presence of being that machismo Friday night starter. He has a chance to be the Friday night starter as a freshman in this ACC. If he can be a dude, they have the offense to really carry this team. Watch out for Clemson. They're making a run at it. Go Tigers. Best series of the year. Let's start with Jake. What is the series that you are most excited to watch?
The Commonwealth Clash. Virginia Tech, the battle for the king of college baseball in the state. That's the one I'm going to be most excited for. These are two teams that hate each other, two teams that are really good. This is going to have big implications on the ACC standings. Circle that one. Might even be there in person. I'm excited for that one.
That series got super chippy last year, and it was really fun to watch. The ball flew out of the ballpark last year. I'm excited for that one as well. Sean, where are we going here? What's your best series?
So I got number one in the ACC, Virginia Tech, and one of the frauds of the ACC, Miami. Virginia Tech was a great team last year. They're going to be a great team again this year. Miami tends to disappoint, but everyone's high on them this year, and there's a reason for that. So I think that's going to be one to watch for sure.
I love that series as well. Noah, where are we going here? What's your ACC pick?
You guys know exactly where I'm going with it. I just compared it to Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire in the summer of '98. April 13th, 14th, and 15th, I'm going to be sitting my cute little self down in Baumwalker Stadium, but on the phone, I'm going to be watching North Carolina play Miami. We're going to go over to Foghorns, and we're going to go watch North Carolina take it right to them for one game, and then Miami come back and win the series. It's going to be great.
I agree. I think that one is right near the top of my list. I'm going to go just slightly different here. If you're going to take Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire, then I'm going to take Mark McGwire and King Griffey Jr., and I'm going to say Miami at Virginia. Jake Geloff versus Yohandy Morales is going to be electric baseball. April 6th, 7th, and 8th. It's at Virginia. It's going to be a big series for Virginia. Big games for Miami to see what their pitching staff really is going to be in this ACC. I love this series. I really look forward to seeing those teams play. There's so many good matchups here, really. It's not going to be like last year where there was weeks off for these guys. These are tough weeks, week in, week out. Every single weekend is going to be very difficult in this ACC. Again, we all believe on this show that it's going to be better than SEC play this year. I believe we're right. We are experts in this field. So we're going to get into some questions here. Jake, can Jake Geloff get Virginia to the College World Series? And who's helping him along the way? Who's going to get this guy there?
I think Alex Tapin's going to be the guy who gets him there. I think Jake Geloff has the talent to carry them over the hump. And like I said earlier, they're going to go as far as he takes them. But Alex Tapin, I think, is going to be another big bat. And I think he's going to have very, very similar numbers to Jake Geloff just because they're going to have to pitch around Geloff. But that's the guy who I'm kind of picking to be the number two, kind of hired gun right behind him there.
I love it. I do think that they have added enough in this Virginia lineup. My worry is pitching. Can the freshmen step up? Can they be good enough with these transfers they brought in? They really went out there and reached for the stars with pitching staff in the offseason. Hopefully it's enough to get these guys going because the offense is definitely there for Virginia. Another Virginia school here, Jake. I'm going to back you up with back-to-back. Virginia Tech. I know you love these guys. Why are they so good this year? Can they recapture last year's magic?
I do. I think that, the magic kind of got soured in the locker room a little bit just with that Oklahoma series. And I kind of mentioned it earlier. They really had a chip on their shoulder kind of all summer and through the fall camp. And it really kind of showed in some of their matchups. And they're bringing enough guys back. They're hungry. They want to go to Omaha or bust. I know a lot of them didn't even really watch the Omaha series. That's how much they wanted to be there.
Yeah, I do. I think that guys like Jack Hurley are going to be the leaders there. Drew Hackenberg. I think that this team believes that they should have been at Omaha last year. They believe that they should have been in the finals game. That belief can carry you a long ways, especially when you're not used to being rated so high. And now they're going to come in as a highly rated team. Can they handle that pressure? Can they jump in and really be the team that we hope Virginia Tech can be? I look forward to watching this team. I love the state of Virginia, Commonwealth baseball, man. It's burning.
It's exciting, man. It's what Mississippi dreams to be.
Sean, can Louisville be the team in past years that we've seen Louisville be so competitive and get to the World Series? Is this a Louisville team of normal, or is this kind of just a fraud because they had a highly recruiting class?
Yeah, I mean, I think they can do it again this year. Obviously they lost Dalton Rushing and Ben Metzinger. That's, hard to bring back. They also lost 3 other guys to the draft as well. Their coaching staff stayed stable though, and they had a top-ranked recruiting class in the ACC, and I believe there's 3 nationally. They also have had great recruiting classes in years past, and it could just be that I have a soft spot for Louisville, but I believe that they can get there this year. And it also helps that you have Jack Payton, Christian Napchik. I don't know. Probably saying that wrong. Napchik, Isaac Humphrey, and Logan Beard all coming back. They were all batting above 300 last year, all 90-plus total bases. So when you have that level of offense coming back and that level of recruiting class and coaching stability, I think you can do a lot with that.
Yeah, with how well Virginia Tech, and North Carolina drove the ball last year, they really didn't get a lot of look at how well Louisville's underclassmen were driving the ball and getting in gaps last year. So I'm excited to see what they do here forward. I don't know if they're going to recapture 100% of that magic and get all the way to Omaha, but I look forward to seeing what this Louisville team can do with these young recruits. They're very highly touted. We'll see what happens in ACC play. That's what can break down a lot of these young teams. Noah, speaking of a team that got knocked down a little bit last year, North Carolina, can Honeycutt get these guys to the top? Where's the help he needs this year? Does he have enough with him?
It's there. This lineup is absolutely loaded. Like I said, one of the best in the country. When you bring in a guy like Matt Horvath, another one in Alberto Ozuna, Vance Honeycutt alert indeed. That's what they're going to be hearing across the country this season. And then you look on the mound. Max Carlson, I just picked him to win ACC Pitcher of the Year. One of the more complete teams coming back. There's still a few question marks sprinkled in throughout the lineup because it's still college baseball. You're not going to have a perfect lineup. Not everybody can be Tennessee of last season. But at the same time, we didn't think Tennessee was a juggernaut. Maybe North Carolina can be that team. When you look at a guy like Scott Forbes running the program, I kind of think of North Carolina baseball as almost the Pittsburgh Steelers of college baseball. These guys don't have very many head coaches, and when they do, they are North Carolina branded guys. Scott Forbes isn't going anywhere until he retires, dies, or is fired, and he's not going to be fired when he's got guys like Vance Honeycutt taking over in his freshman season, and I can't wait. I think I've made it pretty clear that I'm so excited to see Vance Honeycutt's sophomore season.
Yeah, when you look at that 3-4-5 of Horvath, Honeycutt, and Ozuna, that's going to be tough to compete. Like, that's very good lineup there. And then they got Max Carlson. That's a great team already. Seeing what they can do with these transfers in and a couple of these freshmen, maybe this team turns into exactly what they hope they are. They could jump anywhere from where we have them at number 6 to winning this league. I look forward to seeing this North Carolina team good. Again, when North Carolina's good, it usually means Oregon State's great, and they usually beat them by a game. So that's all I'm looking forward to here. Jake, when we take a look at other teams that used to be great and are trying to take the step forward, it brings to mind Clemson. Clemson used to be a wagon, and now we take a look at them. How are they going to be with the new head coach? How are they going to be taking this step forward?
You know, I'm really excited for this Clemson team. They're bringing in 19 new signees, so almost a complete roster turnover, including 2 people from Michigan and Riley Bertram and Willie West. They really are going to take a step forward. And, you know, I think they need to get some gray pants, though. It's really kind of my only flaw with Clemson is that they just wear white pants on the road. So if we can get them some gray pants, I think Clemson's going to be in business.
I love the white pants. It's all business. They're ready to play. I think that this team can go as far as freshman Tristan Smith takes them. I'm going to keep saying it. The dude's great. He could be a first-round pick by the time he's done with his career at Clemson. Look for him to carry this team. I think Clemson takes a step forward. I think that they do make the tournament. I think that they go deep this year. I look forward to seeing what Clemson can do. Now I'm going to ask everybody a question here on Florida State. With Link Jarrett there at the helm, what are the percentage chances that they can win? I just need a percentage. You can explain yourself a little bit, but I need a number. Sean, let me know what kind of number percentage you have for this Florida State team.
Are you wanting them to, like, percent of games won?
To win the league. What is their percentage chance to win the ACC this year?
I thought you meant weekend series.
Yeah. Nope. I want to know winning the league.
That's going to be hard for them. I mean, you have Virginia Tech, you have UNC, you have Louisville, you have Miami. But Florida State's a blue blood of college baseball.
No, they're not. They haven't won anything.
I count them as blue blood. They're a blue blood. And, you know, Link Jarrett's there. So 10, 15%.
15%? Okay, I'll go 10, 15. Where are we at here with this Florida State? Where do you think they are percentage chances of winning the ACC?
Well, you know how I feel about Florida State, but before I'm going to get into that, I'm just going to fire back with Sean's little blue blood comment. I'm not going to say that they're blue blood or not, but we all know why Sean is saying Florida State is a blue blood. We all know it because Florida State and Arkansas have a little fun fact in common. And when you call Florida State a blue blood, then you're also allowed to call Arkansas a blue blood. But we all know why Sean did that. It's a 3D chess move. We're going to allow it. We'll be fine with it, but you've embarrassed yourself, Sean. When it comes to Florida State, I don't see it at all with this roster. I don't see it with the pitching. You lose your two best guys and replace them with people that just don't jump off the page at me. But when I look at a guy like Link Jarrett, he's a guy, Mark, you and I both know. We tried our best to not like him. We tried. But he is so, so cool and love listening to him talk. I think he's a very smart baseball coach, somebody that will find success at Florida State. They'll be back in Omaha in 2 or 3 years. But this year, I think it's looking like a 500 team in the ACC.
Yeah, I'll talk more about my thoughts on it here. I'm gonna let Jake go first, then I'm gonna jump into it. Jake, what are your percentage chances that Link Jarrett can get this team to win the ACC?
I was just looking through my notes just to see if Parker Messick came back for the year, and that's why you're asking that. I'm gonna say 0. I don't even really see them being top half. You have to trust Link Jarrett, but it's gonna take time to build it. And I don't think I think that just kind of shows the shape that the program is that Link's not going to have instant success here. He's going to have to recruit. He's going to have to do what he did at Notre Dame. And I do think he gets it done, but this first year, 0.
I wanted to say 0% until I met Link Jarrett last year at Omaha. The guy is just genuine. He cares about baseball. He's a baseball guy through and through. He really can carry this. So I'm going to go 5%. I'm going to give it all Link Jarrett, everything on him this year, 5% chance. I really wanted to hate him at Notre Dame. I came into those press conferences ready to beat him up. And then he talks and he answers the questions. He looks right at you when he answers questions. The dude's genuinely a baseball guy. I'm rooting for him down there. Just I don't think this is the year. He's not there yet. They got to rebuild first. So going along with this, talking about rebuilds and Link Jarrett, Sean, what are the odds that Notre Dame can make the tournament now this year after losing so much talent? They were an old team last year. They got a few old guys in, new head coach. How do they do it this year?
Yeah. So the field of 64 and just the tournament in general, I got them at like an 85% chance.
Okay.
Super regionals, I think they got to get a really good matchup in their regional. And then Omaha, I don't think is in the cards for them this year. They do have a lot of graduate students this year, even though they lost a lot of guys last year. And then John Stifler, I mean, he was a dude at VCU. He led the Rams to 2 tournament appearances in the last 2 years. And they went to a Super 1 year as well. And you get a guy like Carter Putz back, and I think that's some big leadership there for Notre Dame as well. I think they're going to be a team that makes the tournament, whether that's, a 3 or a 4 seed. Hard to tell. I think the ceiling for them would probably be a 2 seed, and that would be a great year for them. But anything past a regional, I'm not really seeing.
Yeah, I think that they probably make the tournament. I got them somewhere in that 80% range as well. I think when you have guys like Carter Putz and Jack Ziska coming back and being graduate seniors, that brings a lot of talent in. Jack Finley, can he do it as a sophomore? There's going to be a lot of pressure on him to be great there at Notre Dame. I'll say they'll get into the tournament probably in that late 2, early 3 seed. But we'll have to see how well they compete here in the ACC down the stretch. Noah, you've been talking about it. We've been talking all off season. Tell me about Miami Revenge Tour. What is this all about? Where are we sitting here with this Miami Ball Club?
Well, I reviewed the footage of our shows last season, and I was a little bit appalled by how you guys were also extremely anti-Miami all year long. It was really disgusting. And I've decided that Miami was watching. They learned, and they saw, hey, nobody's respecting us. There are a lot of highly respected journalists that were saying the things that you guys were. And it's gotten to the locker room. Yohandy Morales has taken that step towards being a leader. He's in that year now. He's going to take control of the program. He's going to say, hey, last year we got embarrassed on our home field in the NCAA tournament to a team that eventually won it all. So logically, if we had risen to the occasion, won at home against that team, we had every piece of the puzzle to win it all ourselves. So if they can just put it all together, maybe get a few more fans to know what Miami baseball is, maybe get some grass on their infield, it's going to be a great year for Miami. So the Revenge Tour is not against me like a lot of people are saying it is. It's against all you people. You guys released that graphic where it was the word frauds with the Miami U logo. I didn't make it my screensaver. You guys did.
Oh, your general disdain for the state of Florida has shifted to this whole love of Florida. It's embarrassing. I love where we're at, though. I do believe that Miami is going to be great. I do like Yohandy Morales. I was high on him, super high on him last year. I believe that this team could be good. My problem is pitching. I just don't know if they're going to have enough pitching to really be that successful. But we won't know until February, until these guys really get out there and start competing. Fall ball is one thing, but jumping into February when you're talking about real schedule, playing real games that matter, that's when we're going to see what the meat is of this ACC. Speaking of the ACC, we've been talking about it a lot. I'm going to ask each one of you the question. I want you to tell me why you think one way or the other. Sean, I know you're a big SEC guy. Do you think ACC takes over as the best conference, or does it stay with SEC this year? Where are we at?
I think it stays with the SEC. ACC is definitely getting up there, that's for sure. But SEC, you have LSU, who's probably got the most talented baseball roster we've seen in a long time. You got Arkansas, who's consistently in there. You got Vandy with Tim Corbin, who's in there. You have Tennessee, who's been making waves. Who's to say if they're going to do it again this year? But they got some fire going down in Knoxville. And then you got Mississippi State and Ole Miss, who, might have a little downtime here and there, but they're usually pretty consistent and pretty good making the tournament and making it to supers and stuff like that. And then you got teams like Auburn, Georgia, and Kentucky who have shown some life. And then you also got Florida. I mean, Florida's one of those college baseball staples. So while the ACC is definitely getting those recruits and definitely, building up that repertoire, I think SEC still has it for now.
Sean, I think you forgot an SEC school.
Well,
the one that went to Omaha.
Yeah.
Sean forgot the one that went to
South
Omaha.
Carolina, yeah.
Missouri hasn't been Omaha in a long
Missouri. Here's the thing.
No one needs Mizzou.
I was told by fans I'm not supposed to call Tennessee Tenor, and I'm not supposed to call Arkansas Arky. But I'm going to tell you right now, Tenor and Arky, I believe ACC is better this year. They had a better record last year in non-conference. Jake, what do you think of this ACC versus SEC? Who's going to be the better conference this year?
I think it's going to be the SEC. I think that they send the teams to Omaha year in, year out. They usually get picked to advance in the regional. I know sometimes they disappoint, looking at you, Florida. But, if you see an SEC team in your regional, you do, your eyes kind of get a little bit wide. I'm sure Mark, even an Auburn team that came up to Oregon State, Mark was like, oh, crap, we can't get Wake Forest up here?
Yeah, that's true. When I found out the brackets and I saw it was released, I was like, well, that's tough because that's a very good ball club. They had some great players last year, and a lot of their guys got drafted on. I still am going to lean on ACC, but Noah, what do you think, ACC versus SEC?
Well, I think it was interesting the way you asked Sean was if the SEC was going to hold on to it. They lost it last year. It's very, very hard to go out and defend the claim that the ACC is better than the SEC, because the truth is that the SEC at the top is significantly better than the ACC. But when you look at it throughout from top to bottom, the ACC has the advantage there because we had so much trouble ranking this conference. We didn't really struggle that much with the SEC. But we can look at all these teams that we talked about, minus Boston College, Duke, maybe even Pitt. And after
that's
that,
Sean's dark horse is Duke. So don't go dumping on Duke.
We've seen Duke go toe-to-toe with Vanderbilt in 2019 in the Super Regional, and then Kumar Rocker no-hit them. But they won the first game of that Super Regional. Duke was that close to Miami or Omaha. Same thing. But the ACC has taken that edge from a depth perspective. They don't have those heavy hitters. I don't know if there's a national champion in the ACC. We know there's one in the SEC. But from top to bottom, the ACC has that edge. It's very hard to explain to the same fan base that refuses to give any respect to TCU football, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Listen, anybody who has been a fan of the show for the year now, you know how much I was screaming last year that ACC was better. Of course, SEC ended up winning. They sent more teams to Omaha. They ended up being the better club. I think that ACC is in the exact same spot they were last year. I think that they have better regular season. I think they have more talent, not necessarily higher top-end talent. No, I think you nailed it there. I think SEC has better top-end teams, but I think there's 6 to 7 ball clubs in the ACC that could win the ACC title and give SEC teams fits here in the tournament. Moving forward, I think that we're just going to see some great ball. I do love ACC this year. I think we've covered the 2 greatest conferences so far. Any last words here? We got Jake.
Free the hammer. They banned the hammer from being on the field this year, Virginia Tech. So they're looking for workarounds on it. But the NCAA's got to free the hammer. That's what makes college baseball great.
They should put a hammer on top of a baseball bat and just call it their baseball bat warm-up. I love where that's at, but I understand where they're at. I hate that the NCAA took away the hammer. I thought that the props last year was really bringing a lot to these schools. I loved it. Sean, what's final words here?
It's going to be a really interesting year for the ACC. There's a lot of teams contending for that 1-2 spot, and it's going to come down to the wire this year.
Agreed. There's going to be a lot of great ball here. Like we said, no weekends off is what ACC stands for this year. Noah, final words here.
Well, my dream has always been seeing Mississippi State versus Ole Miss in Omaha. I'm going to push that to the side for a year. I want North Carolina versus Miami right here in front of my eyes. That's my dream this season. I got my dream last year of Ole Miss winning it all, or not even winning it all. Ole Miss making the tournament was my dream. Give me UNC and Miami this year. This is what I'm going to be saying all year long. Get used to it.
I love it. When I look at this team, I look at top-end talent. You've got guys like Vance Honeycutt. You've got guys like Jake Geloff. You've got guys like Yohandy Morales. Those are three guys that we're talking about in home run derby races. They could all hit 20-plus home runs this year, and it could be a slugfest in the ACC. I'm really excited to see what these guys bring week in, week out. Again, thanks again to University Traditions. Great club. Go follow them on Twitter. Go get them. Sean's going to show us the hat again. 15 CBC 15 for 15% off your entire order. Go give them a like, follow, love our stuff, comment on our stuff, guys. We want to talk to you guys. We want to interact with all the fans. Again, thanks again from Jake, Sean, Noah, and myself. Appreciate you guys all watching. We'll be back in 2 weeks with another preview, and we'll shoot out the previews for that when we're ready. Thanks, guys.
See y'all later.
Thanks.